Okay. So as we discussed the motivation for dawah, the next thing that we will be discussing is how do you measure? How do you measure your input and how do you measure your output? And this is really important because if you don't have the right measurement, you will get burned out. You will feel tired. You will feel exhausted because you are chasing a number that doesn't work, or you may be focusing on the wrong number. What is your success criteria and what is your objective? So for some people, the end objective would be that I just want to share and create a spark for people to know about Islam. For some is I want to communicate with people and I want to share with people. Okay. And for some people, and thank you for those who are participating in the chat. Hopefully more of you are able to do that. And then at the end, we'll also open it up for Q&A. And that point, you can also raise your hand and use your microphones as well. But in the meantime, let's utilize chat more, inshallah. And then for some people, it's like, I just don't want to communicate, but I want to have the full path. My goal is to help people actually start practicing. So the whole full path, not just like creating interest and communicating, but rather actually taking it to the next step that they are actually implementing Islam as well. So what is the objective is going to be really, really important, because if the objective is just to create interest, the activities that you will be doing will be way different than if you're end of the spectrum, which is that I just don't want to create interest and I just don't want them to accept Islam. I also want them to practice Islam. But then how do you measure your success? So there are different things that people can, measure. You can measure your effort. How many hours am I putting into dawah? What is my consistency? What is my efforts? And am I, for example, if you contribute every Sunday morning, I'm doing something for dawah, or every Tuesday evening, I'm doing something for dawah, then you just have to show up and do your activities regardless of the response, regardless of if people take shahada, regardless of if people show up for your class, regardless of the new Muslims responding to you or not. Okay, some people would say, well, it's just the number of shahadas. Well, what does shahada means? We'll talk about it in a second, right? Like, is that a good metric to have? And so on and so forth. So what you can control is your input. Remember, in life, the results are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we can control is what is our input? What is my effort? Am I learning to make my efforts better? But then at the end of the day, results are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even for the prophets, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Indeed, you do not guide who you love, but Allah guides whom He wills. So what's in our hands, what we are accountable for are the efforts. So now, if you have those metrics, the next question becomes, why is post-shahada important? Why should we worry about and continue with the post-shahada as well? But before we do that, I want to hear from you and see what kind of metrics you would like to use for this activity or for any community activity that you're part of.